For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. Oh, for each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. Oh, for each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage, fathers of time, daughters of dust, and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy, brothers of love, lovers of life, and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth, keepers of faith, makers of peace, and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage, fathers of time, daughters of dust, and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy, brothers of love, lovers of life, and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are one.
And you'll soon take the lead. Wherever you fly, you'll be the best of the best. Wherever you go, you will top all the rest. Except when you don't, because sometimes you won't. I'm sorry to say so, but sadly it's true that bang-ups and hang-ups can happen to you. You can get all hung up in a prickly perch, and your gang will fly on. You'll be left in a lurch. You'll come down from the lurch with an unpleasant bump, and the chances are then that you'll be in a stump. And when you're in a slump, you're not in for much fun. Unslumping yourself is not easily done. You will come to a place where the streets are not marked. Some windows are lighted, but mostly they're darked. A place you could sprain both your elbow and chin. Do you dare to stay out? Do you dare to go in? How much can you lose? How much can you win? And if you go in, should you turn left or right and 3/4, or maybe not quite, or go back and sneak in from behind? Simple it's not, I'm afraid you will find, for a mind maker upper to make up their mind. You can get so confused that you'll start into race down long wiggled roads at a breaknecking pace and grind on for miles across weirdish wild space, headed, I fear, toward a most useless place, the waiting place. Does anybody like to wait? I don't like to wait. What if you had to wait without your iPad? The waiting place. For people just waiting. Waiting for a train to go, or a bus to come, or a plane to go, or the mail to come, or the rain to go, or the phone to ring, or the snow to snow, or waiting around for a yes or a no, or waiting for their hair to grow. Everyone is just waiting. Waiting for the fish to bite, or waiting for wind to fly a kite, or waiting around for Friday night, or waiting perhaps for their Uncle Jake, or a pot to boil, or a better break, or a string of pearls, or a pair of pants, or a wig with curls, or another chance. Everyone is just waiting. No, that's not for you. Somehow you'll escape all that waiting and staying. You'll find the bright places where boom bands are playing. With banner flip-flapping, you'll once more ride high, ready for anything under the sky. Ready because you're that kind of guy, or girl, or person. We're all people. Oh, the places you'll go. There is fun to be done. There are points to be scored. There are games to be won. And the magical things you can do with that ball will make you the winningest winner of all. Fame. You'll be famous as famous can be, with a whole wide world watching you win on TV. Well, that's true. You might not want to be famous. Except when they don't, because sometimes they won't. I'm afraid that sometimes you'll play lonely games too. Games you can't win because you'll play against you. Kind of a disconcerting picture. All alone. Whether you like it or not, alone will be something you'll be quite a lot. And when you're alone, there's a very good chance you'll meet things that scare you right out of your pants. There are some down the road between hither and yon that can scare you so much you won't want to go on. So pretty. But on you will go, though the weather be foul. On you will go, though your enemies prowl. On you will go, though the hackencracks howl. Onward up many a frightening creek, though your arms may get sore and your sneakers may leak. On and on you will hike, and I know you'll hike far and face up to your problems, whatever they are. You'll get mixed up, of course. As you already know, you'll get mixed up with many strange birds as you go, so be sure when you step with care and great tact, and remember that life's a great balancing act. Just never forget to be dexterous and deft, and never mix up your right foot with your left. And will you succeed? Yes, you will indeed. 98.75% guaranteed. Kid, you'll move mountains. So, be your name Bucksbaum or Bixby or Bray or Mordecai Ali Van Allen O'Shea, you're off to great places. Today is the day. Your mountain is waiting, so get on your way. So you can go back to your families now, and we will stay in here today.
Whoa, it's stuck. My shoe stuck. Okay, well, welcome to UUFT. It's time for announcements, and they're very slim this morning. After announcement, joys and concerns will be taken care of. If you have any joys or concerns, please don't turn them into announcements. Cynthia Maxwell needs your newsletter articles by the 23rd, which is coming up right away. And I want you to mark your calendars for June 17th, which will be the first Dinners for All of the summer season. Don Chronister, would you wave? It will be held at the home of Vicky George and Don Chronister. There will be more information in the newsletter, and it will be posted on the Facebook page and website. And now, Erin?
Let's see. The ushers will pass out the baskets for our Sunday offering, and our usher today is Cynthia. The money that we collect today will help our fellowship grow and blossom in so many different ways. Please join me in singing hymn number 402 while Lana leads us on the piano. From a cappella. I receive, to you I give, together we share, and by this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and by this we live. Thank you so much for your offerings. This is the time that we set aside each week to take a breath and pause and think about what's been happening this week in our lives and in the lives we care about, the people we love, whether they are close or far away, and what's been happening in the world. We each bring our own joys and sorrows this morning, which are on our minds and in our hearts. And we invite any of you so moved to come forward and drop a pebble representing your individual joys and concerns into our shared waters of love and support. And I do have one sorrow to share. Susie
sorry to interrupt. We found a beautiful, I think, diamond ring in the kitchen. I'm thinking maybe someone took it off last Sunday after the potluck. So see me. Otherwise, I'll post it on the Facebook page to see if we can find the owner.
Neve has a poem that she will share called This World. Nope, yes, This World.
This World is by Mary Oliver. I would like to write a poem about the world that has in it nothing fancy, but it seems impossible. Whatever the subject, the morning sun glimmers it. The tulip feels the heat and flaps its petals open and becomes a star. The ants bore into the peony bud, and there is a dark pinprick well of sweetness. As for the stones on the beach, forget it. Each one could be set in gold. So I tried with my eyes shut. But, of course, the birds were singing, and the aspen trees were shaking the sweetest music out of their leaves. And that was followed by, guess what? Momentous and beautiful silence, as comes to all of us in little earfuls if we're not too hurried to hear it. As for the spiders, how the dew hangs in their webs, even if they say nothing or seem to say nothing. So fancy is the world. Who knows? Maybe they sing. So fancy is the world. Who knows? Maybe the stars sing too, and the ants and the peonies and the warm stones, so happy to be where they are on the beach instead of being locked up.
My first full year here has been we started this summer last year with the Planets and Principles curriculum that I created for all of the children's RE classes. It was a 10-week summer curriculum that paired one of the 8 planets in our solar system with one of our 8 UU principles. As well as learning about the specific principle of the week, the curriculum also focused on science with some other fun experiments and discussions. As the summer neared the end, I decided that it was time to move the youth into their own classroom so that they could focus on age-appropriate curriculum and discussions. 6th to 8th grade moved across the hall with Cynthia as their main leader and many different other volunteers helping throughout the year. They finally settled on 3 main components for the youth. Continuing to discuss the principles, and the youth created collages and posters illustrating their thoughts on these. Popcorn Theology, a youth curriculum that employs a clip from a popular movie with theological discussion questions. This eventually evolved into incorporating the Netflix hit Wednesday once a month. The youth would watch it at youth movie night, and then the following Sunday a clip would be shown and then discussed. One Sunday a month was still used for the classic Popcorn Theology. And once a month, Magic the Gathering was played. You might be thinking, what? How does that in any way relate to UU religious exploration? Well, when playing a game with another person, or in this case against another person, it is so important to remember to be kind. Our first principle reminds us to honor the inherent worth and dignity of every person, and the second principle states that we believe in justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Both are very important aspects of gameplay. Not that the youth didn't get a bit extreme at times. Within the confines of the game itself, their relations have only grown stronger, though. And while not exactly the 5th and 6th principles were addressed, but problems are discussed and figured out in a fair and peaceful way. And it has elements of the 7th, as it is mostly based upon a planet and its creatures. Earth, air, and water within the 5 color elements: plains, forests, mountains, swamps, and islands. My son, Dylan, taught the youth that didn't already know how to play. He focused on good gameplay, gamer etiquette, and deck building. So you see, Magic the Gathering is not just a frivolous waste of time on one Sunday of the month. As everything that UUs do throughout our lives, the game incorporates different aspects of our principles, and it's fun. The children in the Spirit Playroom learned about the seasons and holidays that are celebrated throughout the year through storytelling and exploring the different centers in the Spirit Playroom. I created a new Rainbow Center that celebrates science, magic, and our inherent love of one another. There are prisms hanging from the window, a sunburst rug on the floor, different rainbow-hued building materials, and rainbow-colored finger mandala cards to meditate with. As we move towards our multi-gen winter solstice, the children spent a few weeks learning about the celebration, creating spirals, and even practice walking the spiral in the Spirit Playroom. Unfortunately, I got the flu and COVID right before, and several families were also sick, so the program was put on hold for next year, so keep that in mind. Some highlights from this past spring are the creek cleanup for Earth Day, the maypole dance, and several fun gardening days. We also recently got our newest nursery care provider, Farai. Soon, the RE will begin our summer session with UU Lego Sources, a curriculum that teaches about and lets the children explore our 6 sources through Legos and discussion. And I am opening up a new classroom that Jabel has graciously volunteered to lead for children entering grades 3 through 5. With possibly entering grade 2 as well, if the children are ready. I am looking forward to more RE activities and events next year, like Middle School Owl, Trunk or Treat, the Haunted House, and all of our multi-gen services. And now, for the Flower Communion. Did you know that this is the 100th anniversary of the first Flower Communion? UUs all around the world are celebrating or observing the Flower Communion or Flower Celebration, as some prefer to call it. The exact date is June 4th, so we're celebrating a little bit early, but that's okay. Here's the story of how it all began. Norbert Čapek was born 150 years ago in June of 1870. He grew up in troubled times in Europe. During World War I, his safety was threatened because he spoke out against those who tried to restrict freedom of worship. So Norbert and his wife came to America, where Norbert discovered Unitarianism and became a Unitarian minister. Once the war ended, Reverend Norbert wanted to return to share his love of Unitarianism with the people of his country, which was now the newly created country of Czechoslovakia. He returned to the city of Prague in 1921 and started a brand new church, which grew steadily as more and more people came to listen to Reverend Norbert's sermons. The war had left many miseries and a hard life for the people of Prague. Families had been broken up, businesses had been ruined, and many of his congregants didn't have enough money to meet their needs. Unitarianism was new to Czechoslovakia, and the worship service was unlike ours today. There were no stories or music, and the sermons were very, very long. And no RE classes. Yeah. The church building was plain and cold in the bitter winters. Still, people came because they were eager for worship, spirituality, connection, and hope as they tried to rebuild their lives. Reverend Norbert knew that the people who came to hear his sermons were learning about Unitarianism and building a new faith together, but he also knew that the daily struggle continued to be 5 years after the war. He knew the weariness of the troubles and sadness they carried, and how his people yearned for a sense of connection and possibilities. One day, he went for a walk along the river which winds through Prague, and as he slowly crossed one of the many bridges, he began to think about how to lift the spirits of his congregation. He wanted to help them have hope. Reverend Norbert saw a flower growing in the bare and scuffed earth near the edge of the river. The beauty and bravery of the little bloom lifted his spirits. He wanted to share that uplifted feeling with his congregation, but how? His church had no altar flowers or gardens around it. So Reverend Norbert thought and thought as he walked, but he just didn't have any ideas about how to share the feeling that the flower had given him. He came to a small child from his congregation who smiled at him and held out a flower for him to take. Reverend Norbert smiled back with a happy heart and realized in that moment how to spread his warm feeling with his church members. It was spring, and there were flowers everywhere in Prague, in the parks, along the river, even in the rubble still left from the war. Reverend Chopek spread the word to his congregation to bring a flower to the worship service that next Sunday. Everyone did show up with a flower. There were stems of white, daisy-like chamomile, yellow, many-petaled leopard's bane, the bright pink rockets of cyclamen, plump yellow clusters of primroses, fuzzy pink spires of hens and chicks, deep blue gentians, pinky purple pasque flower, and of course, many roses, which are the national flower of Czechoslovakia. So on June 4th, 1923, the day after Norbert's 53rd birthday, that plain church was bursting with colorful clusters of flowers, each uniquely beautiful. Short, tall, spiky, round, scented, and vibrant. And the uniquely beautiful faces of the congregants were also bursting with smiles of warmth and hope as they felt the powerful forces of growth and possibility in nature and in each other. Reverend Norbert Chopek called that feeling the hidden cry for harmony with the infinite that each person feels inside. At the end of the service that day, when they chose a flower to take home, those seeds of hope and harmony and fellowship went with them and began to grow in their hearts and spirits. Every one of us has a yearning to connect with others in one way or another. Some more and some less than others. We are all different, unique specimens of the human variety of mammal, after all. But from the moment we came into this colorful world, we have yearned to connect with others. Eventually, once we aged a little bit, we wanted to also be accepted by others. No one wants to feel left out, though I would have to say that alone time for self-care is definitely important too. Just like the flowers that you have all brought this morning, they are different from one another. We too are different. But that doesn't mean that we do not want to be part of something bigger than just ourselves. We celebrate our differences while also finding what we have in common and then also celebrating that. Life is a beautiful and ever-evolving thing, and it is important to remember to take some time to celebrate the little things as we pause to smell the flowers. Our children will bring around some baskets of flowers or bouquets of flowers you have also graciously brought, and I invite each one of you to take a flower. Lana Balka will help create a floral atmosphere with her musical stylings. So, children, if you would like to come help pass out some flowers, you can.
Thank you, Lana. That was lovely. I would like to have Dylan J. come up on the stage. Up here? No, no, no. What a blessing he is. Thank you for being here.
No problem.
Dylan J's family is with him today. His father, Huck, and his sister, Sydney, are sitting back there, and his partner, Cheyenne, next to her mom. So he's gotten hooked into our President-elect's family as well. All right. Dylan just graduated from Topeka West. High school was probably not the best time of his life. COVID played a big interruption, and there were other things that made it just a challenging time. But when he was in school, he wrestled. He won gold medals as a wrestler, and he wrestled in the 106 weight class. So watch out for this mean guy. He also played the trombone. Dylan was awarded Merit, Garvey, and Wiseman scholarships while in high school. He attended Washburn Tech, also while in high school, and earned a CNA license. He's currently employed in healthcare, so he's a very busy person. Dylan plans to attend Washburn University in the fall. He will explore first and then choose the best path forward for himself. Dylan is interested in social justice and social justice work at UUFT, where he is an active member of our Social Justice Committee. He became a member of our congregation earlier this spring. And in talking to Dylan's friends and family, I would say his defining characteristic is his kindness and compassion. And he has stories about rescuing baby birds and cats, so we'll be expecting to hear more from you about that. And I think Erin expects you to say something, so I'll move out of the way.
Alright, so I have my thing on my phone, so let me pull this out. Alright. So they asked me to talk about my high school experience last weekend when I came, and in my mind, I was like, it's not the most uplifting experience I've had, but I thought I'd share it with you all this morning. So, my freshman year started off like most people's freshman years. It was just regular high school at that point. I did band during the fall. I played at football games. I did the wrestling team, as Richie pointed out. And it was a pretty normal experience my first semester, freshman year. One of my friends ended up moving in with me and my family during my freshman year because he was having his own family problems. I really appreciate my parents for that, for not only supporting me, but for supporting my friends, as they did many times throughout high school. So, COVID came during my spring break. Well, it was already here, but that's when it really started to affect the USA. And I remember when we went on spring break, they told us it would just be a little bit longer than usual, but then we never ended up going back that year. So, something I thought was interesting, an interesting decision made by the school, was they told everybody that they would freeze our grades and they would stay the same as when we left. So something I noticed was a lot of the kids who were intelligent in school and worked hard no longer worked hard because they already had their grades frozen so they didn't really have to do anything else to improve them. So a lot of kids after the third quarter just stopped attending school that year because they told us it didn't matter, so that's kind of how we treated it. So, yeah, my freshman year ended kind of weird. We just stayed at home and didn't really have to attend our classes. It was recommended we should, but there wasn't really any punishment that they could give us if we didn't. And I noticed more of that going into my sophomore year. I started my school year online that year, and it didn't come until a few weeks into the school year that we were actually allowed to attend in person. So I started attending school sophomore year maybe halfway through September or October, and that didn't last very long as COVID rates started to spike in our county. They sent us back onto online school. So I spent a lot of time at home during my sophomore year, and I was honestly extremely bored. I couldn't see a lot of my friends. I couldn't wrestle that year because of COVID. They didn't want wrestling because it's a very close contact sport. So I was not able to participate in that my sophomore year. And during the day, a lot of us figured out you could actually take your classes on your phone by logging on to Zoom there. So you didn't even have to be at home to do school. You could take it on the road with you and go wherever you wanted. And I'm sure that's not what the school intended, but they made it very easy to do so. So, without being able to see my friends at school, I spent a lot of time during the school day traveling to my friends' houses instead. I would take day trips out of the town during the school day, or go on walks in the woods, and as they mentioned, I found a whole bunch of cats one day when I probably should have been attending my classes. I found 7 kittens in a sewage drain, and I brought them all back home with me and put them in my bathtub. I had work that night, so I wasn't real sure what to do with them, so I gave them food and water and left them in the bathtub and hoped nobody in my family would notice until after I got home to explain it. I got a call during work. I didn't answer it, but I listened to the voicemail on my way home, and my mother was just a little surprised. She was asking why we had 7 kittens in our bathroom. I don't know why I thought she wouldn't notice, but we actually ended up keeping about half of them. I still own 4 of the kittens to this day. Their names are Macaroni, Moonshine, Kevin, and Clementine. I didn't almost forget her. So, my high school experience up to that point was already kind of strange, but it turned even more during the second semester of my sophomore year. My mother was actually killed during my second semester that year by my best friend. I wish I could tell you all why. I don't actually know the reason. He did what he did. But that changed a lot of things for me. I kind of had a big wake-up call from a lot of the stupid things I'd been doing with my time up to that point. I hadn't really been taking school seriously. I hadn't really been taking my life that seriously. So when my mom died, it was a big wake-up call to me that I had to do something different. So the school gave me the option to once again freeze my grades for the second year in a row because of what happened. And I decided not to freeze all of my classes, which was a mistake because I ended up failing my classes that year. wasn't in the best headspace at the time, and I wasn't really able to concentrate on my schoolwork. So that put me back a little farther than I would have liked to be at that point. I didn't plan on failing classes throughout high school. Those are actually the only two I did fail. But we were supposed to go to the beach that year with my mom. It was gonna be the first time I'd ever gone to the beach. The vacation was already paid for, so even though she'd passed away, me and my sister still went all the way to North Carolina with one of my mom's friends from Illinois. We met them about halfway and drove the rest of the way with them. It was an amazing trip. I just wish my mom could have been there. My junior year was the first year I had where I was actually in school without being online at all. I was no longer in band or football. I didn't have as much time as I did before because I had to work a little more after school to help make up for some of the financial strain that had been put on my family because of my mom's death. So it was kind of strange, but I made do with what we had. And I still did wrestling that year. My father really wanted me to do wrestling because he said if I don't do it, I'd probably regret it. And he's definitely right. I'm happy I did do it. But I remember during my junior year, during homecoming weekend, there was a pretty big controversy at Topeka West. We had a student who had been accused of sexual assault multiple times, and the administration hadn't done much about it. Yes, I know, I'm sorry. But the school rallied together because the administration seemed to be protecting this student instead of doing anything about it. So during homecoming, when usually you would have your giant pep rally, a lot of our band and cheerleaders and football players were out protesting. And I was very proud of my other students for standing up against this, and a lot of people had told us that it wouldn't matter and that it wouldn't do anything, but by the end of the day, the school had him kicked out, which is exactly what we wanted. So I was happy that we were able to get that done as a class. I attended Washburn Tech my second semester and got my CNA license, so I could start working as a CNA as a senior. And my senior year was pretty small. Most of my classes were finished. I had half days of school. I wasn't there a whole lot. But I passed all my classes. I took a few college classes while I was in high school because the high school paid for them, which was good. But perfectly fine.
Well, you've got a lot to tell us, and I appreciate it so much. You are an amazing person. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And we'll see lots of Dylan. Thanks, Dylan. We've got two more seniors to introduce, and I'd like them to come up at the same time.
I might have put the wrong high school with the wrong.
I knew where they went to school.
Yes. So you went to Topeka High, not West.
Yeah, they went to.
And
he went to West.
Topeka West, not High. So
All
I
right.
apologize.
Come here, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, let's look at the real world.
Yeah.
Okay, clue number one: how to tell them apart. What? Oh well, this is Sebastian.
No.
Oh wait. Did you do this on purpose?
Maybe.
I thought they're gonna mess with me, and
Yeah.
because Sebastian generally wears orange.
No, it's the other way
You,
around.
Alex.
It's been a while.
Then your mother messed with me. Okay. I don't have any idea who you guys are.
My name's Joe, and
All right. One of them is Sebastian, and the other one is Alexander. And I thought it was very important to keep them separate as human beings because they are two individuals. But what often happens with twins, you dump them into one basket and you say the twins. I'm sure you've experienced that. A little. You're Alexander.
no, I'm Sebastian. We can swap places.
Oh, oh, Lord. I'm sorry. I did have things I wanted to say about them that were kind of interesting and kind, but it's just more interesting to look at them. They came. Their mom is here with us today, Valerie Ikas Khan, and their dad, Ed Khan, lives in Manhattan, and that's why we've seen less of the boys in recent years because they spend their weekends in Manhattan with their dad, days going to Topeka High, and staying with their mom. They came to UUFT as toddlers, and I think many of you will remember seeing them run around with capes. They were the caped crusaders in the congregation. And another favorite memory of them dressing up is at the haunted house. We had two Dr. Frankensteins, and their mom's friend Chris was the monster. So, anybody remember that? Oh, well, it was fun. They looked very handsome in their vests, and they still are. Okay. Sebastian
Yeah.
attended Topeka High, and both boys attended Topeka High. Both are really into games still, and like role-playing games a lot. That's something they started off here and never let go of. Sebastian has earned the Robina Pringle Scholarship. He completed the Kansas Scholars curriculum and is part of the National Forensics League and Debate Honor Society.
Yeah, that just means I passed debate.
Okay. Anyhow, their college plans are open, and both of these guys are really interested in digital technology. One of them wants to be a game designer, and one of them is more interested in graphic design. And I'm not even going to try to say who's who. Like I said, this confuses me. But I know you have a couple words you want to say. Fun to be with.
Paragraph. One moment. All right. Don't expect an epic or anything. I'm not really good at making speeches. Yes, I wrote that down. Yeah, I've been with UUFT for a while. I remember when this was one of 3 rooms of the building. That was pretty fun. The hallway was the other room. Most of the fun I had was with Ari, mainly because drawing. Basically what I would do is I was really bored in services because they were doing things that were like crazy, like talking about treating people with respect and community and stuff. And that was just not very interesting. I don't actually remember what I was drawing. No, that's kind of a lie. I was just drawing dragons. But so I do remember what I was I don't really even remember what I was thinking when I was drawing, but I definitely remember thinking, man, there's no way there's going to be a giant global pandemic. And boy, was I wrong. But at least I was right about one thing, is that I did not die due to the global pandemic. That was pretty good. I did not get sick. Well, I did get sick, but not that bad. I remember sitting in the tiny, tiny, tiny chairs and just drawing with markers and just not really paying attention at all. So I don't have that much to say. And that's pretty much it.
Now, I didn't prepare a speech. I'm just messing with my phone to stall for time. But I also was a UUFT from a young age. I said, toddler, running around as a caped crusader, fighting my own boredom mainly, much like him. I do believe that UUFT was a sort of experience that I had, well, both of us had, that was rather unique compared to a lot of people we know. Something that, growing up, I always assumed that every church was like this. Oh, yes. The day I went to an not actual church, I'm sorry, but I mean Catholic church. It was a very rude awakening to be like, wait, you guys actually talk about the devil and stuff? Wow. I thought that was just a thing in books. But no. So I always did kind of prefer the atmosphere of the UU and such. COVID, much like him, I have to call it the most boring time of my life. I can only say that I did school, and I'm kind of upset because I actually attempted to do school after grades were frozen in our school for the whole second semester during that thing. So unlike him, who was playing Minecraft during class, I was doing work that wouldn't matter at all. Stressing over these things, and then I realized, hold on, my grades were frozen 2 months ago. But it was too late, it was summer. So yeah, that was just another compound alongside, getting sick with COVID a few times, having a fear of needles and needing to get regular vaccines. Very fun. Will recommend, 10 out of 10. But coming back, it was just a lot of interesting experiences that, due to me deciding I'm going to take more difficult classes every single year in progression, and things kind of became a blur after COVID because it was, well, I simply wasn't paying attention to anything outside of school. Oh, God. Okay, so Sebastian reminded me to talk about the worst part of school during our year. So at Topeka High, there was a fun little thing the seniors before us did, where they decided to steal everything from the bathrooms. There was about 50 soap dispensers gone. Five? Oh, 5 soap dispensers. It felt, somebody said 50. I don't know where that came from, I guess. And I think somebody stole a urinal. But, so this year, the most students ever at Topeka High, and only one bathroom for each, one boys' bathroom and one girls' bathroom were open for everybody. It was absolutely horrible. The bathrooms were like anarchy. You went in, it smelled terrible. People always went in there to smoke for some reason. Fun times, I gotta say. Really made me appreciate cleanliness and self-introspective into why we were being punished for something that seniors 2 years ago did. However, thank goodness that's in the past now that I've graduated. And I never have to worry about that again. And thus, that's kind of my whole graduation story, not worrying about things that I've been worrying about for the past 4 years, except for the obvious things, like now there's new things I worry about, like, oh gosh, I don't know how to do taxes. Oh. So there's a few new things I'm going to have to learn, but overall, I think it's going to be pretty good. Yeah, and that's about it.
Thank you for that eye-opening look into the school that my daughter is going to next year. I have a book, a gift, which is a book, for Dylan, for Alexander, and for Sebastian. It is Becoming, a Spiritual Guide for Navigating Adulthood by Kayla Parker. So let me give one of those to you. This is a fabulous book that will help you on your journey of becoming a UU and of being a UU. It is filled with writings grouped into categories such as community, identity, growth, and change, and more. And as you grow older and find the ideas of community and readings on the idea of community more interesting than you did as a child, I think that you'll enjoy the book. On page 99, you will find the poem Go Boldly by Jean Olson. It goes like this. May you be brave enough to expose your aching woundedness and reveal your vulnerability. May you speak your deepest truths, knowing that they will change as you do. May you sing the music within you, composing your own melody, playing your song with all your heart. May you draw, paint, sculpt, and sew, showing the world your vision. May you write letters, poetry, biography, slogans, graffiti, the great novel, laying bare your words to love and hate. May you love, even though your heart breaks, again and again. And until the end of your days, may your life be filled with possibilities and courage. Okay, so this brings us to our third and final part of the service, I promise. This is the RE volunteer recognition. It is not much longer, I promise. I cannot say how thrilled I am that so many of you are helping to support the RE program. We have more volunteers here than I have fingers and toes, and that's saying something. There are members and friends of the UUFT that have helped out in the nursery, the spirit playroom, and the youth room. Some have also helped in other ways, like the post-multi-gen receptions, gardening days, the blessing box, and at other events. I also recently sent in a bunch of new volunteer background checks and am so excited to be celebrating even more members and friends of the UUFT at next year's RE Multi-Gen service. When I read your name, please come forward if you are willing and able for a small token of my huge appreciation and be celebrated for the fabulous person that you are. You may also raise your hand and one of our youth or children will bring your gift to you. I know that several families and volunteers could not be here today, but we will make sure that they receive their thank you and gift as soon as possible. Now, if after reading the names, if I have somehow missed you, it was not on purpose, and I apologize deeply. Please come and see me after the service so that I can celebrate you as well. So Skylar Starr, Patricia Hildenbrand, Jana Cook, Sam Boaz. Oh, sorry, your gift is... So when I call your name, you can come and choose a plant. Micah Forstein. Dylan Cook, who is not here. Jules Farrenbacher. Andy Schaeffer. Matthew Bordelon, Lana Balka, Jasmine Puderba, Bob McDonald, Deb Bledsoe, Kent Forrester, Beth Forrester, Bobby Schaeffer, David Schaeffer, Catherine Schmidling, Jarvis Odgers, Mike Wilson. Now, a couple of people must have a little more recognition. My aunties, Linda Lucero, Lou Hoover, Kathy Callan, and Richie McDonald, for their help in the RE classrooms, general advice, help on the multi-gen services, and gentle nudging to get the blurbs in for the various RE events and services, and being such fabulous cheerleaders. Yes. You can also raise your hand, and I can send a flower delivery to you. Farai Harold, for the double amount of awesomeness that she brings to the UUFT, first as a volunteer and now as our new nursery care provider. Joe Silsby, for his help with a lot of things concerning the RE and the UUFT building in general, and also for coming to save us from a smoke alarm we couldn't turn off during a very memorable and loud RE movie night. Jake Starr, for putting my images of the Story for All Ages into the slideshow nearly every week. And last, but by no means least, I struggle to find the words that encompass the gratitude I have for the following two women. They have worked tirelessly to help me and the rest of the RE to be successful. They volunteered in classes, jumped in for me when I was sick this past year, which was far too many times, and when others couldn't make it in because they too were sick. Together they stepped up and became co-chairs of the LRE Council when they were needed and supported me in all ways. Without them, the RE would not be where it is today. I made each of them a special keychain with a UU chalice charm attached. The links are woven into a pattern that invokes the image of a burning flame. And just as a rocket's fire pushes the rocket into the outer limits, so too does the energy within Jabel and Cynthia push me to do what needs to be done. And I got a hen and chick plant for Jabel because of her deep maternal love, not just for her 3 sons, but for all children. And I got Cynthia a spider plant because she loves spiders and plants. And so, it's like the obvious choice. Your commitment to nurturing and caring for children is a testament to the genuine compassion that resides within both of you. And we will get this to Jabel very soon. Through your tireless efforts, you have created an environment of love, support, and joy where children feel safe and cherished. Your dedication to their well-being is nothing short of extraordinary. Thank you, Jabel. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, everybody, for all of your help and support. And now Estella will play her, yes. Estella, you can go over.
Okay, Erin, you didn't recognize yourself, but I think all of us here acknowledge that you have brought so much to our congregation. And I think I speak for many others when I say I am so grateful that you joined us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I am very happy to be back as well. Now, Estella will play Gothic Gavotte on her cello. And now Teddy will extinguish the chalice with a short poem. And then I would like to invite everybody to a cookie reception.